We didn't go over the glue.
Yes, it's the Glued Together podcast.
I know,
If nothing else, we have to talk about the glue. We have to acknowledge that being aware that we're on a healing journey and being conscious and wanting to heal our trauma and not pass it on to our kids is already something that our parents didn't do.
Hello, welcome to episode 8 of the Glued Together podcast. Just last week we were talking about how it finally wasn't hot in this room, but we are in New York and we were getting a heat wave.
Yeah, it's
so
hot.
I'm already scared. It's going to be super hot. And we're actually recording during my lunch break.
Yes, it's our first daytime recording.
Yes, so maybe a different vibe. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out.
We shall see.
Yes, if you like one or the other, let us know. Mostly just that our weeknights this week were we had the holiday on Monday, and then we had my mom's birthday party, and then last night we were going to record, but we had Antler's first day of school.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of an intense wind down, and after we put him to bed, we were like, oh yeah, I guess we probably should have given him a little more grace, being that he had a brand new day at a brand new school. So but yeah, it just was kind of a harder night in the
it just wasn't happening
in the
family. It wasn't gonna happen.
And
So then tonight we have a double date with my brother and his girlfriend. Football season starts tonight also, which I'm not necessarily not celebrating, but I'm not celebrating because we have a date night. But yeah, so here we are, Thursday in the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
An afternoon delight.
Yes.
For you.
Hopefully for us too.
Yeah, I don't have that much time today. My lunch break ain't that long. But all of that to say, how was your last weekend? I mean, we recorded kind of late last week, so how would you say the 3-day weekend for you went?
It was really nice. We went to the beach twice.
Yes.
We went to 2 different beaches. The first one, we took a ferry, and the waves were too big to really go in, and it wasn't that hot yet. So we ended up winning a sandcastle contest that we entered sort of on the fly. So
we
that
got
was super
number
fun.
1 in detail.
Yes.
There were different categories. There was the overall, and there was 4 different categories. And we got detail.
We got really into it. We had
Guess what it was?
2 other couples that are friends, and so we got really creative. Everybody took on a role.
Everyone had a job. Get the job done.
Yeah, it was cool. Antler was there. He did great too.
Yep.
He was his own role.
What do you think it was in the comments below? If you had to guess.
Well,
what kind of sand castle?
If they watch our stories, they probably know.
Well, then they get the hint.
Yes.
Then
so
they have this cheat code.
Stories.
They have the cheat code if they want to know.
Yeah, true.
But drop it below. I'll just wait a minute.
That was super fun to do.
It was a sea turtle with a monster truck racetrack on its back. Do you still have what you sang? What you read to the?
I do.
You should read it
now.
Yeah, read it right now. Grab it. It was a 4-hour venture. Of course, we stopped many times, and then Antler went in there and destroyed it. It was probably built 3 times. With some people had huge shovels, like a gardening shovel, and we had 2 shovels smaller than the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
A little rake and a bucket that held maybe 20 ounces of sand.
We had to take the ferry, and I was trying to be minimalist about
No, I loved our choices.
The kids stuff.
We didn't know we were entering this competition.
No, this was not planned.
Chad, the park ranger,
Yeah.
invited us in.
Yeah.
So we took the opportunity.
Team number 7.
All right, read it.
So I created an ad for our presentation. So here it is. Welcome to the Turtle Track, a self-care retreat for monster trucks. It is our hope that time spent on the Turtle Track will inspire monster trucks to slow down and take in the scenery of everyday life. It is our intention to create a sanctuary for monster trucks to practice self-care. Statistics show that 95% of monster trucks don't get enough self-care and don't take the time off to relax that they need.
Monster truck self-care.
So we got into it.
We got
And it was
into it.
fun.
We had a bubble
just felt
maker.
like playful
Antler
and
held the
creative.
bubble maker out as she read it. I felt like that's where the detail came in. Like, that's why we want detail. We had the ad, we had the bubble maker, we had the tracks on the racetrack.
Yes.
Like a family or group of people like to the right of us were like, we're gonna make a sea turtle.
After we had
You're
started
like,
making
great.
a turtle.
We're so happy that we were your inspiration for your sea turtle. But there did not have a truck or anything. Like, it didn't have any like creativity.
Yeah, it was
you know
it was
what I
a
mean?
different style of sea turtle. So
It was lame. Not as cool as ours. I will say it. I don't even care.
yeah.
But no, I had a good time too. I actually really enjoyed going to the beach. It felt like a fun, just was like relaxing. And, I think we have learned in our time of being humans and parents that you really don't need as much stuff as you think you do. Like, you really don't. And if you can minimize as much as possible, that's what you're going to do. I mean, it's still stuff because you have a kid. But I mean, even all the snacks we brought way too many snacks.
Yeah.
But if we didn't bring the snacks, we would have been like, I'm so hungry. You know what I mean? So.
Exactly. And we're in Mercury retrograde time, right? So the planet of communication is like going backwards. And so
Yeah, that's why we were supposed to do it yesterday.
Yes. So
that's right.
We're still kind of in. So a few episodes ago, I talked about a Venus cazimi. So it's when a planet is behind the sun and like the planet gets like maximized and like shined upon. And so this time it's Mercury cazimi. And so the planet of communication is being highlighted by the sun. And it's really ideal during a Mercury retrograde period to have conversations during this cazimi time because
cazimi. Sounds like a bean.
There is during every Mercury retrograde, there's like one day where this cazimi happens. And so yesterday was that day. So we're like, yeah, we're going to record the podcast. And, I honestly, like, I could definitely feel like the very clear communication moments. Like I had like an amazing couple session yesterday with a new couple and like breakthrough after breakthrough. And I was like, yeah, cazimi. But then, by the time, like after dinner and like just trying to like wind down, like
broke down.
I think I was just like exhausted and like, just, I don't know. I've just personally been feeling called to like really get my time management together. Like Aydian helped me last night get like a checklist together for the morning.
You're so resistant.
With like the new fall schedule with school and everything.
You're so resistant to my schedule. I make you.
Yeah. So I definitely tend to resist scheduling and planning, but I'm definitely starting to value it.
Yeah. I feel like you're now at the point where you like grit your teeth and do it even though you don't really want to do it.
Because I can see, like, I'm starting to see like the traction. I'm starting to see like the visible benefit, tangible evidence that, oh yeah, like this actually works. Like people do this for a reason. My friend, Kate Northrup actually talks about, how, she's like, I never wanted a routine. And now like, I'm all about my routines because I can see like it's worth it. And like my life is just better because I create routine. And so I'm starting to see what she's talking about there, for sure.
I love routine. If every day could be a routine, I would do that. I would take Sundays off where it'd be no routine, but the Sunday would have a routine. It would just be a different routine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I've always found comfort in routine and knowing. I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe when I was younger too. I can't really think about those years because I don't really know. I can pretend to be like my whole life, but I don't actually know. But I do know in my older years, like post 20 years old, I've just always liked to know what's happening, when it's happening. Even like, you've seen me, I like to have like, oh, I know on this night we do this, and on that night we do that, and on Sundays we get bagels. Like, I just like to know what. It's not that we have to do that every time, but I like to have that routine, and I think maybe because it helps with communication because everyone knows what's happening. Yeah. You don't have to go over the same thing 7 times. You're like, but this is what happens on Wednesday nights. So like, if we don't talk about Wednesday night, that's because we already know what's happening. You know what I mean? So, but
yeah,
some people hate routine. It's fine. I get it.
You also were raised by a Virgo mom.
Yeah.
So I think that helped you like want more organization and planning and stuff like that.
Only when I got older though.
It makes sense too.
It's like I used to not be like that and like cleaning. Like I used to be a terrible cleaner. Now I'm like amazing at cleaning.
Well, I think it's like we naturally rebel against like our parents when we're younger.
Yeah, we don't see the value.
Yeah.
Like, well, why would I clean my room when I'm literally gonna dirty it tomorrow?
Yeah. Why would I eat in a way that supports my body? That's stupid.
Right. It doesn't that like why wouldn't I want to just eat cereal for dinner every night? What is the problem?
Right.
Efficiency, people.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Totally.
No, I mean, you have to figure things out yourself. And I think
you're rubbing off on me too, though. Like when I went to Cabo and I unpacked my entire suitcase as soon as I got there. Did I talk about that?
You did tell me.
Yeah, that was a moment.
Or maybe you posted it on your story or something.
Maybe I did. Yeah, but yeah, that was a moment of like, yeah, I'm becoming Aydian, and it's really nice.
Yeah. Listen, when you get to a hotel and you're staying more than like a night or maybe 2 nights, like if you're going to be at that hotel for 3 days, 5 days, you were there for 6 nights, 5 nights, whatever it is, like,
yeah, it was 5 nights. 6
it's
days.
your home. Like, do you really want to just like figure out what in your suitcase is dirty and what's not, and where the socks you brought are, but you can't find them? Like,
it was helpful. It was because I knew where everything was.
Yeah. And then when you pack,
ready quickly, I could get changed quickly. I could find my book, my cards, whatever I needed.
When you pack, you can put all of your dirty stuff in like one little spot, so that when you get home and you unpack, you know what goes right into the wash. Like, there's a science, and it's valuable, and you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when I'm living out of my suitcase, it's like I'm not actually anywhere. But when I have to open a drawer to get my stuff, like whenever I go on a trip, even if I'm only there for 2 nights, I always unpack. I always take out my nice whatever speaker clothes I'm wearing. I iron them or whatever, hang them up. Like, I lay out my jewelry.
You're very cute.
Put my toothbrush and my little toothpaste. It just creates a sense of like I'm here, like a presence. Like, this is my space. I don't let them come and clean my room
at all.
Never. Nope. I put the little thing on.
I do like having my bed made. It's nice.
That is nice. But usually I'm only there for 2 nights, maybe 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and like, I don't know. I guess I just feel like, I'll just save the blankets or whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, I really enjoyed the weekend. I thought it was great. I feel like I had a lot of fun. It was so hot. It was nice. Went to the water, went up to the north shore of Long Island. We went to the Sound. The Sound is so nice. I have such a better appreciation for the Sound.
That was Sunday. Yeah, that was nice swimming, and it was hotter
nice.
Too.
Yeah. I had a good weekend too. I thought it was fun. I feel like, do we want to jump into questions? Because I feel like the last few episodes we've talked a lot and then didn't get as many questions as maybe we wanted to get to. What are your thoughts?
That's true. We have to share our glue though.
Jenilee is very into the glue and the theme of Glued Together.
Yes. I wanted to stay
Last time I didn't say it, she got upset that we didn't go over the glue.
Yes. It's the Glued Together podcast.
I know,
if nothing else, we have to talk about the glue.
It's a name. It's just the name of the podcast. It's just a name. It's just a cute little name. Made a little logo.
Yes, but we had intention and meaning behind it.
Yeah,
right?
that's fine.
Right.
Jenilee, what was your glue?
My glue was allowing you to help me and support me in moments where I was crashing and burning.
Okay.
And
letting me put out the fire.
Be open to you reflecting messages to me.
That
I really
one walk,
needed.
that ego walk.
Yes, I
had one ego trip. I
had an ego death this week.
I forgot about that.
It was very necessary and it was timely. And Aydian put the, what do you say? The cap on the I don't know. Oh, the something on the coffin. I mean,
I put the nail in the coffin.
The nail in the coffin. I don't know. Whatever. That sounds morbid.
That's a terrible phrase.
Either way, there was an ego death that Aydian helped to close.
Facilitate an ego death. But then at the end of the ego death, my ego was like, "You're so good at this. You should start a business."
Yeah.
That helps other people recognize their ego.
Yeah.
Because you are flawless.
Yeah.
But then I told her, I was like, we have to stop this conversation now because my ego is feeling really good.
Yes. Yeah.
Feeling really good about himself.
That's the circle, right? Like,
yeah.
There's never a complete ego death. It's always a layer or an unhealthy part that gets to die, and then the healthy part is like, hey.
Yeah. But I feel like I recognize it, so that felt like good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What was my glue? My glue was, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if this is glue, but this is our podcast, and I'm going to say it is. I feel like my glue was just getting Monday off. So since I started a more like a 9-to-5 job, quote unquote, because it's still like at home and like they're very chill and like, you know what I mean? If I wanted a day off, I could take a day off. That's not a problem. But I'm not used to getting holidays off. So I'm not used to having Labor Day off. Like I'm not used to having any holidays off.
Yeah, it's always like a chosen, like, I'm taking
July
this
4th
off.
or whatever. Yeah, and it was always chosen with the thought of like, well, just that lack thought of like, well, Aydian, if you don't work on Labor Day, everyone else is going to be working on Labor Day, and if you want to get ahead of the game, and if you need to make content, and you need to do this, and why are you not working? You should be working. It's Labor Day. So I feel like with this job though, I'm allowed to just like close up shop. Nothing's open today. There's nothing to do. So
permission to relax.
Yeah. So that felt really gluey. That was my glue that kept me together. It was a 3-day weekend. It was fun.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. Like we were not home. I couldn't work if I wanted to. It was just a good time. I got a bagel on a Monday.
Oh yeah.
That was good. No, that was Sunday. We got bagels before the ferry ride. So, what's your glue this week?
Yeah.
Oh, people should be telling us that.
Tell us what your glue is in the comments. We want to see it. And we promise we'll engage.
Yes, I engage.
So,
also, like, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on if you want to know whenever we're going to drop the podcast, because we don't even know when we're dropping the podcast each week. It's a big surprise. We have no idea. It just happens. Right?
This is true.
This is true.
Like we're kind of
I get my own notifications because I'm not even sure when.
Yes.
No, but in all seriousness, like if you value what we're offering, it is helpful when you like the video, when you do leave a comment, when you like other people's comments, just like engaging with the video is always very helpful. I mean, on both sides. It's helpful for the algorithm to get in front of more people. But honestly, it's helpful for us because like we we don't have any way to gauge if people are liking this or not. And so we've gauged it by like, oh, like how many views did it get? And how many likes did it
Yeah,
get?
that's true.
Like, oh, how many people commented? So when we have a video and we're actually seeing that people are watching and engaging, it makes us feel good. Like that's our return on the investment. It's like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, like people like it. Same thing with asking questions too.
Yes, exactly. And we are actively looking for sponsors. So if you have any ideas of brands that would like to sponsor this podcast,
let us
drop
know.
them in our email box at gluedtogetherpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, we would love to hear about it, even if it's just ideas, or if you have actual connections to brands that want to sponsor us. Amazing. But yeah, we're just starting to think about these things because the more support we have for the podcast, the more we'll be able to do and keep up with. So exciting stuff.
Yes.
All right. So question number 1 says, so this is a lengthy question. So
hit it with me.
It'll take a minute to get to the question, but that's fine. We've got some juice here.
Someone commented on our feet.
On our feet?
Yeah, they said we had good feet.
We have good feet?
Yeah.
Oh.
They said they've been waiting to say it.
Okay.
And I'm saying you could tell us.
Hey now.
Everyone's got,
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. All right.
She said yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I am a 32-year-old Mexican American, masculine, lesbian, living in Southwest Texas. I have known I liked girls since kindergarten, and I have identified as a lesbian since I can remember. However, I remember always aligning more towards men's clothing, hairstyles, and more. I've always felt awkward sitting with women at group parties, but couldn't go sit with the men either. I've never felt quite right. When I was about 13 or 14, I remember seeing some hairs on my chin and being overwhelmed with happiness, thinking I was finally turning into a boy. Growing up in a Christian household, I was quickly put into my place. Since then, I knew I had to maintain the status quo. I was always very athletic, and my dad loved that he didn't have to worry about dressing me in girly clothes or things like that. All that changed when I came out my freshman year of college. I was cut off and kicked out immediately. My family has since come around, but my issue is I have questioned if I'm trans for the last 5 years or so. I hate my body so much that I often cancel going out with friends because I don't like the way any of my clothes look or fit on my body. I got a breast reduction 2 years ago, and that only validated my desire to get top surgery. I don't know what to do. I have worked so hard for the career that I have and for my family to accept me. I'm not ready to lose either of those, but I'm just not in the right body. I haven't told any of my friends because I'm not sure how they'll react, and I've seen hate towards trans people within the LGBT community.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's like, doesn't necessarily mean that they are trans or that they are a man. They could be non-binary. They could just be, some people don't label themselves anything particular. You know what I mean? Like, so I hesitate to call anyone trans before they call themselves trans because I don't know. I don't know if they're trans, right? But I think that's something for them to figure out clearly. But it sounds like the underlying question is just like, what do I do if I am? Like, have a career, I have family, like, they cut me up once before, they'll probably do it again, right? Like, those type of things.
Yeah.
And it's always hard when it comes to family because just like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know.
Every family is different.
Right.
And there is the Mexican American cultural aspect as well that's at play that you and I don't really
know firsthand about.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've had friends, we've had partners.
Right.
Like, you know, so like there's not not a deep understanding. There's as much of an understanding as you can have without actually being part of that culture.
Right.
But yeah, I know it's very strong, you know? So I think overall, like, I guess my advice here would be before you, it sounds like you're unsure if you're actually trans or not. So it sounds like there is time between you feeling 100% comfortable in the label of the identity you feel you are to when you tell your family and your job. So what I would do is just like focus on yourself and what you feel like you really need. Like if you feel like you really need top surgery, like maybe you get like maybe you decide if you end up deciding that's something you want to do, like, you know, that doesn't have to be discussed with your job. You don't have to discuss with your job that you're getting top surgery. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that gets discussed with your family depending on what type of interactions you have. But if your parent if you don't go to the beach, if your parent is never going to see you without a shirt on, you already got a breast reduction. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's some, because I think sometimes it's about the language you use. Like, if you're like, I'm trans, people are like, ah, you know what I mean? But like, if you're like, oh, like I'm getting, maybe like a breast reduction again. Oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I think it's just the language that can really scare people off, so to speak, and really make them think like, go into their own storyline of everything, as opposed to just being like, I don't like my breasts, and so I'm getting them taken off. I've already got a breast reduction. It's not good enough. I want more. You know what I mean? And it sounds like you didn't mention anything about HRT. Doesn't mean that's not in your idea phrase like thoughts. But it also sounds like maybe you want to take it slow. I mean, I'm totally just assuming based off of this question, but
Yeah. To me, it sounds like you've taken it extremely slow throughout your life, and that you're at this point that maybe feels pivotal. Where you have the option to pivot, you just don't know what that would look like. And yeah, I think it's definitely something that you need to establish a feeling of safety in before making any sudden movements, I would think.
Right.
What would safety look like in taking the steps laid out before you that, would include you getting the top surgery you said that you wanted? Are there any safe people that you could come out to or not? It's interesting. I have heard a lot of different stories, and they're just such a wide range, right? People sometimes decide to transition or come out, and then like their whole life changes, but everything falls into place because they're living authentically. But in a lot of ways, making those choices can be very privileged, right? Because maybe the safety isn't available to you. Maybe doing it in a way that, would support your mental health and your, physical safety isn't available right now to you. But I think it's okay to, get clear with yourself. Like that's what I think we're both kind of saying too, like that, like really getting very clear with yourself and not feeling uncertain. And then once that clarity comes, figuring out like what's the safest next step. Like if I did, lose my job for any reason, like what's my plan? What type of job would I do as a trans person? Like what is my vision for myself living in the body that I want and I identify with? And, what is my plan living my truth? Like what would I want that to look like? That all feels really important when I think about, being in your shoes, which I'm not. So I don't really know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like one thing you brought up is like usually when you know that you want top surgery, it just becomes something you can't stop thinking about because it's something that is always there. You know, like every time you take a shower, every time you get dressed, every time you say a photo of yourself, every time you look in a mirror, every time you pass a store, every time someone looks at your breasts, like, you know what I mean? Like every time you make a movement across your chest that like, oh yeah, yep, there's tissue there, and so I think that like once you get clear on what you really need for yourself, I think that that's also when like once like let's just say the example is that you're like, yes, like I need top surgery, like that is something I've decided that I need eventually, and I don't want anyone to have to get to this point, but I think eventually it eats you up so much that you make a choice. Like I'll speak for myself, like I made a choice, like I knew that I had to transition medically, and like it was like you just get so close to that edge where you're just like, okay, like if I lost every single person in my life right now, I would still do this because I can't live the rest of my life like this. Even with all these people around me, even with all my family, even with all my friends, like I can't keep living like this, and I'm choosing myself. And I'm going to live like this, which means I might not get any of that. You know what I mean? So that's just a personal experience of how I've felt, how I've heard other people feel. And some of those people have lost friends and family. Some of those people have lost and regained, similar to what your original story was. And some of them have not, and you never really know. I mean, maybe you do know, but a lot of times you're shocked by the yes, like we accept you, or the no, we don't accept you. So, yeah, just get clear with yourself. I think that's the very first step. And once you get that clarity, you really have to, you don't have to make a sudden choice, but you definitely need to do the inner work to really figure out, like, am I going to go and do this thing and potentially lose my family, or am I actually okay? And are there ways in which I can feel good in my body that don't put me at risk of losing my family? And like, no judgment from me. I mean, I'm sure from you too. Like, everyone gets to make the choices they want. Like, if your family is more important, then don't do it. You know what I mean? But if you think that your life is more important and how you're living is more important, then make that choice. You know what I mean? And like, I just feel like everyone's here on their own journey and they are going to make the choices that they feel is best fit. I just hope that everybody who makes a choice that they feel is really true to themselves is not doing it under the eye of another. You know what I mean? Like, do it for you. Make a choice that's good for you. And because when you make that choice, no matter what I say, Jenilee says, or anyone else says, you're like, you know what? I've made the choice that's right for me, and I trust that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks for this question and for trusting us with it.
Yeah.
Question number 2. I do not know how to ask this, but how did you deal together in your sex life with the fact that one person is cis and the other one is trans, and maybe not the same interests in some practices?
Interesting. Well, you know how to come, right? You know how to orgasm, so that's the first thing.
I love Aydian so much.
Like, you personally as a human with your own body know how to do that, and you can teach another person how to do that if they do not know how to do that with your body.
And granted, not everybody can do that, or has done that, right?
Orgasmed?
Right.
Yes.
We like to think that everybody has, but we don't know that.
Yes, but I feel like this person probably has.
Okay, well,
They didn't say I've never came
No,
before.
they did not say that. I'm just saying that it's not.
This is an adult podcast.
Yes.
Okay. If you're 18 and under, I love you. I appreciate you. But just, this is for the adults. Okay. Listen, everyone's got, there's some religious things that might not make somebody orgasm at this time of their life.
I mean, there's many reasons that.
Girl, I can only speak for myself.
Yes.
This person has came.
Yes. Okay.
In my worlds.
Okay.
So, you know how to orgasm. You could teach someone else how to do that. But what I will say is interesting about what struck me the most about this question is more of what if you're into something that I'm not into, and vice versa, right? Is that kind of another way to phrase that second half of the question?
Right. If we had different interests, I have something that came up for me. Should I say it now or should I wait for?
Do not hold back.
Okay. What comes up for me when I think about what if you have different interests in sexual practices is I do think that we're conditioned, whether we were raised as, boys or girls, men and women, to think of sex as a certain type of practices and positions and ways of doing it and giving versus receiving and all of that. And so I do think that with the transgender, cisgender sex experience, some of that might come up, for discussion. It's really, it's very dependent upon the person.
For discussion.
Yeah,
that might come up for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it might, because
it's just the way you said it.
The reason that discussion comes up around sex is when there's some sort of an issue or, some sort of disconnect or it's clear one person is saying I'm doing this and the other person is doing that and it's like a clash. But for me, I mean, I'm Aydian sexual. I'm just very interested in whatever is going to be offered. So
she comes to eat the menu, baby.
Yeah, every relationship is different, but our chemistry in that way, it never seemed to matter that much, what was gonna go on. It was more just our bodies are going to touch and in these different ways and it's all good. But I understand and hold space for the fact that not every two people have that. Right. And
can we get more granular here? Is that okay?
Yeah.
My thoughts in this is what if someone wants to be penetrated with a strap on or a dildo and the other person doesn't want to perform that. Right? I think that
yeah.
Right? Because as a trans man, it's a lot of them, a lot of us will wear strap-ons. Some of us don't. So I think that what if in this case they're
right.
I don't really want to wear a strap on and my partner wants me to. And what do we do? Because I don't want it and they do. What are we gonna do here? You know what I mean? And I think that's where Jenelee's kind word of discussion comes into play, which is you have to talk about it. You have to sit down and say girl, I don't want to wear a strap on. And she has to say, well, I want to be penetrated with a strap on. So what are we gonna do?
Yeah. So,
you know what I mean?
That discussion has to take place. And I think the exploration of your individual attachments to a specific sexual identity versus sexual practice.
Right.
For some reason I'm very attached to doing this practice with my partner and just unlayering and unpacking why or, not to say that you have to change it, but just get curious about your attachment to something. Maybe it is just from being conditioned to think that this is my role in the relationship. So I want to fulfill it, or I'm supposed to want this versus this is what I actually like. What I actually want is you touching me at some point in some way. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or, you
Yeah.
know, you penetrating me in general
Right.
versus, oh, it has to be with
Right.
a dildo or a
Right.
strap-on.
Well, I think like what you're saying is two things. Right? Like, one is that we are all conditioned.
Right.
There's not if you've been conditioned.
Totally.
I think we just
we're all
are.
conditioned.
We're
Yes.
all conditioned that like men have sex this way and women have sex that way, and that's it. And even I know that for myself in the beginning of our relationship, I was like, well, this is what I do.
This is what
like,
I'm supposed
this
to
is
do.
this is what a man does. You know what I mean? Like, like, you know, and have had to work through that.
Yeah.
And I think still working through that in many ways. Still,
right.
like,
and the more that you're working through it, we're working through it together.
Right.
The better.
The better our
sex
sex is. Yeah, exactly.
Because
right.
we're no longer holding societal expectations around our sex life
right.
to that degree level.
Right.
It's more, oh, like, who are we and what do our bodies want and what do we want to explore together?
And why do I feel embarrassed if my body wants this?
Right.
Or why do I feel weird if you want that? Or what does it make me feel if you want that? Like, well, what do you mean you want me to wear a strap on and penetrate you in this way? Like, what does that mean? I'm not good enough for you? I can't. Well, I don't have those parts. And it's like, yeah, well, there's a lot of cisgender people who don't have those parts, but there are still stores where you can buy lots of things and people use them. Many different things. Like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So it's like there's that side, which is that societal side, but then there's the other side, which is like the how do we meet in the middle? Okay.
Right. And I think the even deeper layer to the conditioning is that we are conditioned to not talk about sex.
Right.
So that even just breaking through, like, oh yeah, like, we can have a conversation about this and we get to, and we can do hard things like have a conversation about sex and our preferences and like where they like unpack it. It's like that's hard. It can be really hard, but if you break through that, there are great benefits.
Yeah. Well, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's pressure, like after you talk about something sex, like with sex, like you're going to have sex. You don't have to have sex. Just like watch a movie. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so
that's true. I mean, studies show that talking about sex not during the time period where you were gonna have sex, like talking about it as like separately, can better. Actually be better.
Right. Right.
You know,
we tend to talk about sex after we've had sex a lot. Right. At least more recently.
Yeah.
It's been like after the sex,
right,
that we've talked about the sex, which we probably wouldn't have been able to do a few years ago.
No,
we'd probably been like, well, what do you mean? What does that mean? It wasn't good. Well, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, but more recently, it's been a bit like that's just. I think also just like as parents, we're like, when do we have time? This is the most time we talk about sex during this podcast. We ain't got time for that. But the other part is, how do you find the in between? How do you find the middle ground? Right, like. We're just going to keep going with this strap-on analogy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do I as a trans, like, let's just pretend that this is a situation and it could be accommodated for whatever situation you're going through. Like, how am I going to handle it that I don't want to wear one and you want me to? Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to work through this? How are we going to find a way for you to get pleasure? Because I think there's also, like, it's okay if someone is having more pleasure than the other person. It's just as long as one person isn't feeling the opposite of pleasure, which is like pain or shame or uncomfortableness. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be like, okay, this is your moment. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm having fun, but this is your moment. And now it's my moment. And now we have this moment together. Like, you know what I mean? So I think you just have to figure out, again, with that conversation, like, well, I don't want to wear a strap on. So, like, what else can we do? Are there other things we can explore? Are there other products we can maybe purchase that I would feel better about? You know what I mean? So I think that is hard, but you have to you gotta talk about it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then experiment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you don't know what you're gonna like until you try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting to know your own body, getting to know your partner's body. Like, there's no one size fits all. There's no two bodies that are exactly the same, because we have all of these like millions of nerve endings in different places. And, you know, like no two bodies are exactly the same when it comes to pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think that that's the other thing. It's like cis, trans, you know, we're flesh, we have nerve endings, like explore that and see what works.
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't know if it's just this question, but it's getting hot in here.
it is getting out of here.
I think it's the weather, but the question was good too.
Yeah. Thanks for this question. Thanks for trusting us with that. Next question. Hey y'all, I wanted to start by stating, hey. I wanted to start by stating that I'm grateful for you both being public about being parents, especially Aydian. As a fellow trans man, I thought for the longest time.
That's good. We need a hand signal for trans men. She's just like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sati. Keep going. Ignore me.
I'm going to keep going. I thought for the longest time I couldn't imagine ever being able to become a dad, or if I wanted to, for multiple reasons. Seeing you be a dad showed me that it's possible. And while some of my reasons are real fears, such as safety and current political climate for both my potential child and for me, it showed to me that some of my reasons are not something I need to worry about. Also, seeing you both in healthy relationships and embarking on the journey of parenthood showed me that that part of the reason I didn't want kids is because of who I was married to at the time.
Ooh, spicy.
Okay. My relationship with my ex-wife was abusive. To not go into too much detail, it just wasn't a healthy situation for me. Seeing you and your relationship and supporting each other made me realize that I didn't deserve to be treated the way I was being treated.
That's right.
And it inspired me to start the process of separating and divorcing.
Good for you. Get up out of there.
My ex-wife.
Love it.
So thank you both for that. Now my question is, how did you know you were ready to start on the journey of parenthood? I struggled with wanting to be healed enough in my life so I don't cause my child trauma or hurt. Or hurt them. And I'm feeling like if I keep up with that, I will never feel like I'm ready. So if you have any advice or wisdom to share, I'd appreciate it. Thank you both for doing this podcast. It's refreshing to see a couple have conversations and be able to healthily disagree instead of putting on the facade of always agreeing with each other.
That's right. We agree on a lot of things, but not everything. Especially ranch with pizza. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Well, I love this. Good for you. I'm feeling uncomfortable with my mic today.
Usually you're like all suave with your mic.
I know. Not today. Something changed. I love this for you. And I love at the end that, like, if I wait till I'm perfectly healed, I'm never going to have a kid. Because that's true. I believe that to be true. If you wait till you are perfect, you will not ever have a kid because you'll never be perfect. Perfection is an illusion that our ego creates to make you feel like crap. But I feel like the problem with you asking the question is I always go first, and then I, like, you know me, I just like go off and blah blah blah. So I feel like I have to remind myself to be like, Aydian, like, shut up. Like, let Jenilee answer the question first. So, Jenilee, what are your thoughts on this question?
So, for me, I relate to it in the sense that I didn't think I was ready to have a kid for a really long time. And then all of a sudden, I started thinking about it a lot. And in retrospect, looking back, I know and can see clearly that I had hit a plateau in my own healing journey. And when I started having the thoughts of, yeah, you're gonna have a kid, let's have a kid, it's time. Things were not by any means perfect. I had definitely been engaged in my self-healing journey and resolving my own traumas and, all of those things. But by no means was I like enlightened. Like, like it wasn't like, oh yeah, like I'm ready because I'm healed. But it was more like I'm at a point in my healing journey where I've healed a lot, and this feels like the next step. And from my own experience, my child has helped me heal to the next step. Like it's like what has come up in that journey between pregnancy, even before that, conception, pregnancy, and birth, and then, becoming a mom. Everything that I was wishing for, praying for in terms of my own healing was all clear. Like, oh yeah, this is what's going to help me. Oh, look at this, how I'm healing in this way because my child has brought this new awareness to me. Or, so I guess my best advice is that if you're thinking about it a lot and you are aware that you're on a healing journey, that's enough. Like not to say like, oh yeah, do it tomorrow. But for me, like we have to acknowledge that being aware that we're on a healing journey and being conscious and wanting to heal our trauma and not pass it on to our kids is already something that our parents didn't do. Like we're already not passing on all of it that was passed on to us, because our parents are from a generation where they weren't thinking that way. They weren't intentionally on a healing journey. Well, I could say most of them were not.
Right.
And so just thinking of it in that way, that like we're already doing it, and your child is meant to help you heal as much as you're meant to help them. And it's really going to be this collaborative healing. It's not about being perfect for them, because they're meant to come here on their own journey with their own healing experience, and you're meant to be part of that in the ways that you are, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, I mean, and you're never gonna not hurt them, or what'd they say? Fuck them up. I don't want to say fuck them up. You're gonna fuck them up.
Yeah, I don't want to cause my child trauma or hurt them.
Trauma and hurt. You will hurt and traumatize your child.
Yeah, I always make the joke. Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say I make a joke that like, I'm so scared to like mess up my child, but like I'm gonna mess them up in the way that they need me to. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody, there's no perfect, like you said. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, like, you could be as intentional as you want to and not want to traumatize your child, but your child is a different person than you are. And so what traumatizes you doesn't necessarily mean it will traumatize your child. And what didn't traumatize you doesn't mean that it won't traumatize your child. So I think that you are in no control over what your child will be hurt with or be traumatized with. But you are in control of those really big things, right? Like when you abuse a child, or when you talk down to a child, or when, like when you showcase, things that we would all be in agreement that like, wow, that would traumatize anybody. You know what I mean? So I think that that's what we all need to work on, right? Like we all need to work on those things of like, how do I do my best not to teach voluntarily or involuntarily like my child my bad, like the things that I have to work on, you know what I mean? Like, so I think just like recognizing that and like is, just echoing what Jenilee's saying of just like if you're being conscious about it, that's already a step in the right direction. I think for me, honestly, like I don't think I would have ever been ready for a child, because I always focus more on the financial aspect of the child of like, well, I want to be able to like go on vacation and do this and do that. And like we were in no place to do that. We're still not in a place to be like even right now, like if Jenilee and I have talked about another kid, and I'm always just like, I don't know, like I don't know, like financially if that'd be smart. Like I don't know, like what would our life be like? I feel tired already, like, you know.
Yeah.
But to be honest, and just like this is not as spiritual as Jenilee's response, but like I knew that I wanted a family. I knew that I wanted a kid. I knew that we wanted a kid. And it wasn't my body to say that now I want a kid or now I don't want a kid. So when Jenilee said she wanted to have a baby, it was like we talked about it, I think, for a while. Like you kind of let me know. I think you said, oh, when I'm 32 or 33, you were thinking about having a baby, something like that. Is that what it was? It was something like we knew that at some point in your mid-30s, you were probably going to have a kid. You know what I mean? And so that time was approaching, you know. And you were 33 when we started, because we started for 6 months. And then you were pregnant for 9 months.
No, I think I was 34 because I thought I was 35 when I had him. Or no, maybe 36 when I had him. So maybe it was 35.
2018.
Yeah.
But you're only 39. So if you were 36 when you had him, he'd only be 3.
Right.
He's going to be 5
right.
in November.
Right.
So 5 minus 39 is at least 34.
Mm-hmm.
And you were pregnant for 9 months before he came out of your body.
Right. So maybe you're right.
So, and we tried for 6 or 7 months before then. So I think you were 33 when we started, regardless of when he was actually born.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I was 30 and I think I had just turned 31 when he was born. Whatever. You were in your early 30s. We knew it was going to happen sometime in your 30s. And yeah, I wasn't ready. I feel like I pushed it off for as long as I could, kind of being like, let's wait a little bit longer. Let's wait a little bit longer. Let's wait a little bit longer. And then I feel like you just were like, I'm ready to get pregnant. And Jenilee was kind of like, I'm going to have a baby. I know we're married. Like, are you going to be a part of this or not? Because you were pretty like gung-ho about like, I know that this is my time. I know that my body is ready. I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Are you coming? You know, it's kind of like...
I didn't say it like that, but...
No, but it was definitely the vibe. I would say it was the vibe. Like, the vibe was that, like, your body was ready and that, like, this is something we want to do and that we're never going to be healed perfectly. We're never going to have the right financials. Like, let's do this. Like, let's just do it. You know what I mean? Let's start the process. And we didn't know how long it was going to take. So I think all of those things included were... I was just kind of like, I guess we're doing it. You know, because it was like I knew I wanted a family. I knew I wanted to be a dad, but I didn't know any of the in-betweens. You know what I mean? So, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that that's true. I mean, no, you didn't literally say, like, I'm leaving without you. You know what I mean? But it was just like, I'm ready. I'm ready. Like, why are you like, you're actually not. The reasons I was not ready were all these, like, I don't know, fears, really. It was just like the fear. Like, oh my God, you know? And then we thought we were going to have twins, so then I was really scared.
Yeah, we really
It was like,
did.
okay, all my fears are coming true. You know? Although I wanted twins. It was this weird phenomenon where, like, I wanted twins because I thought it'd be fun and cute. But then, like, when you're like, oh, like, 2 cribs and 2 things and 2, oh my gosh, then I was like, I don't know if I want twins anymore. But there was like 6 days where we were like, we're having twins. I guess we're having twins.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have twins, clearly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how we decided. So, ending on this question, we really want to do a parents podcast.
Yes. Oh no, it'll be
did we
this.
already say this?
It'll be this podcast, but we want to do an episode that's very focused on just like parenting questions.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry,
sharing our parenting journey.
That was unclear. We don't want another podcast.
Yeah, it'll be this podcast, but an episode.
I feel like everyone who's been listening knows that like there's no way in hell we have time for another podcast.
That's true.
But I love the clarity. Important. Yeah, so we're going to post for episode 8.
This is episode 8?
This is episode 8.
This is episode 8.
Sorry. Episode 9, in the Slido, so in the description box, parenting questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a parent, we want to hear from you. If you are going to be soon a parent, we want to hear from you. If you are an older parent, like you have had kids for a while type of thing, we want to hear from you. Or if you're interested in having kids, anything related to parenthood,
Yeah.
we want to know.
Yeah, we wanna do a very focused episode.
Yes.
So
And then we like, I also want to know suggestions, any other focused episodes you want to hear,
Yeah.
because we're thinking sometimes we get questions that are themed and we're like, should we put these together? Like,
yeah.
but then we're like, but we should let people know that we're going to do
Mhm.
something so they can act. So you can drop a question below in the comments. You can go to the Slido, ask your question there.
Mhm.
You can email us at gluedtogetherpodcast@gmail.com and ask your question there.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
Please like, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on. 8 weeks, baby.
Yeah. Exciting.
It feels like it's been a long time, but it also feels like it hasn't. So I'm excited for
Mm-hmm.
when we get to 20 weeks.
Yeah.
20 weeks is going to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
20 weeks. So
Yeah.
exciting. Thanks so much for coming along on this journey with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, we really appreciate you all, and we look forward to engaging more with you in the comments.
Yeah, we love it. All right, y'all. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
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 And even I know that for myself in the beginning of our relationship, I was like, well, this is what I do.
This is what
Like,
I'm supposed
This
to
is
do.
this is what a man does. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and have had to work through that.
Yeah.
And I think still working through that in many ways. Still,
Right. And the more that you're working through it, we're working through it together,
Right.
the better
our
sex
sex is. Yeah, exactly.
Because
Right.
we're no longer holding societal expectations around our sex life
Right.
to that degree level.
Right.
It's more, who are we, and what do
Right.
our bodies want, and what do we want to explore together?
And why do I feel